Good morning, Flosstube. Happy New Year. Pam, stitching between the lines. Friday morning, January 3rd, 2020, right? Isn't that something? Not officially, it's officially 2020. I know you could debate this forever, but it's not. It is the last year of the decade. It is not the first day of, January is not the first month of the next decade. You count from 1 to 10. So 2020 still has a nice kind of ring to it, though, doesn't it? Anyway, here we are, a new year, and the same old whips. I did finish, we'll just jump into that. I did finish one as my last video, whatever one that was, just a couple weeks ago. I showed essentially my whips that are carrying forward. Not all of them. I didn't have house barns farms of Hawk Run Hollow. I didn't pull that one out and show it because I pretty much haven't worked on it in a long time. It was I finished what I had hoped to finish in Mania, and then pretty much haven't touched it since. But I talked about how I wanted to get those Mania pieces wrapped up. Anything that's not really intended to be a big, huge thing that carries forward for a long time, like Farms of Hawk Run Hollow. I needed to focus on getting those done, and was maybe thinking I could make a dent in those whips, which there were eight or so, 8 or 9 of. I don't know. Don't quote me on any of this. But I did finish one. I finished this teeny tiny little watering can crow, which I've had for ages, never touched. So it was a good thing to pull out and work on in Mania because it's just little and cute. And I had this random piece of fabric, 18, and it's a piece of 18 count. Don't have any idea. I think sometimes I buy, there's a store that I go to sometimes in Florida, and they'll have little baggies of like random cuts, small cuts, scraps. And so this was labeled 18 count. And I ended up stitching it over one with, I'm pretty sure, 2 threads. Yeah. Over 2 was just too big. I just didn't care for it. So I went over 1, and it's the cutest little thing. I just said, it only took a couple, I think maybe I worked on it twice. 2 little times working on it. I don't know what it'll be. I, in my mind, see maybe a bowl filler style little pillow. So we'll see. I'm not so good with FFOing. I'm not saying I don't know how to do it. I just never feel like doing it. So I don't. And then one other whip that seemed to be like kind of missing in action. I didn't have it with my whips, and I couldn't find it on my lists. I had 2 different lists for Stitch Mania. I had the list of all the things that were whips going into it, and those counted towards the 19, and then a list of all the new things. So it was on that list, but then the calendar where I was also keeping a list as I started things didn't have it. So somewhere it got lost in the shuffle. Even though I think I worked on it, I don't think I was counting it. So then it looked like I didn't have 19 things, combination of whips and starts. So I started something different. But here it is. It is here. Country Still Life. There's something about it. I like geraniums. I like crock. I like a quilt. It's been a slow go. Flowers always take me anyway a long time. They're fussy, a lot of color changes. There's outlining, the leaves. I have a lot of the background done, and I started in on the crock. And that's where I kind of got bored. I don't know why. It's not like I don't like doing just straight up row after row. I don't know. It's been folded a while. So I started my way down the crock. I was working my way across the quilt so that I could do the shadowing as it, get finished with that. I'm not sure if I'm finished with that. Possibly. I don't think I'm looking at the picture. I'm looking at the picture as we speak. There's a lot of shadowing on this half of the picture that hasn't been done. I started along the crock, and that's kind of, like I said, where I got bored. I think what I have is the outer perimeter. I really thought I really thought in my mind, let's look at the picture. Let's look at this together. I really thought I had done some of the center shading. Actually, I think I have. Well, it's like it's a Monday morning, which it's not. No, it's pretty much the perimeter of it, of the crock. That's as far as I got. And then I put it away, and I haven't had it out since. For no good reason other than it's just, you know, a nice little piece that I'll work on occasionally. And maybe I'll get a bee in my bonnet to focus on it and get it finished. And then I could not find this morning. I'll have it for next time probably. I couldn't find a piece that I put a few stitches in that was a mania. I don't know. Well, I do know. I do know what's happening. And we'll get to that. I had my Christmas Day start. I decided to start Christmas Heralds, and it's a picture, a piece of original art by Tasha Tudor that's been made into cross stitch, and I just thought they were as cute as could be. So I started it on Christmas, and I worked on it for a week. I keep calling each individual child a herald. I finished 2 heralds. I was thinking, isn't this little herald cute? I know what the word means in the phrase Christmas heralds, and it doesn't have anything to do with the people. But for some reason, I'm calling them heralds. So I got these two children done. They don't have faces yet. So there's what maybe could be considered, I don't know if they're all children or, I'm going to say they're all children. I worked on, because it was the same colors as the hair, I worked on this little bunch of dried whatever she's carrying. And that's where I ended. So, cute, cute, cute. Love the way that plaid. I like plaid, and so that's fun to stitch in some plaid in the clothing. So, Christmas Heralds is underway. Christmas start, and there's no real good reason why this wouldn't be finished by next Christmas. I am trying to prevent what happened with the Spirit of Christmas, where it was, and that really wasn't that the picture was too complicated to stitch in a year. It was a combination of the fabric. It was the fabric and stitching all that white on it that just wasn't working. And then my Christmas Day start. Now this is an interesting one. This is, I bought the pattern when I went to Country Sampler in Spring Green. The owner was working on it and with a thread conversion, and I bought the pattern, as did Leanne and Barb of Lost and Floss, and one of theirs is done, and maybe the second one is underway. For sure the second one's underway. I don't think it's done yet. Leanne finished hers, Barb's is underway, and this was my New Year's start. It doesn't look very intimidating, but, you know, row after row of the same white-ish color. I can't give you my thread conversion. It was what they converted at Country Sampler. So these bygone stitches, I just have to say this. Bygone stitches, the designer of bygone stitches has passed away. So some of her old patterns they're bringing out and they're calling them remembering bygone stitches. So while this pattern came out, I don't know how long ago. I'm trying to look. It says on the back 2018, but I think that's when this was a re-release. So I don't know what the original pattern looks like, but I have to warn you, while it looks simple, it is just row after row after row of one color, which is a little tedious. I've actually copied the pattern and I'm drawing a line with pencil, which I never ever have to do. The original called for colors are a Splendor and a Rainbow Gallery and a Treasure Braid, so clearly I'm not using that. Anyway, the pattern comes on 2 pages and they don't match up. I don't know if it divides these words. Yes, Virginia. And if you line up the words, then the edges are skewed. If you line up the edges, then the word is skewed. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say somebody who doesn't cross stitch reprinted this because of the skewing of, I'm thinking, like, the number of squares per inch don't match up, and it's only off by a little bit, but it's enough. So I don't know if they did a fill the page kind of thing when they copied it. It's not the greatest copy. You know, when you copy something, the lines, like the 10 count lines, sort of lose their definition. So that's happening. So it's a slow go. I am going very slow because I feel like if I get off somewhere in all this, that it'll be hard to figure it out exactly. It may not matter. I'm not really sure. We'll see. So I reached out to Leanne and Barb to see what they did to match up the pages, and so they had some tips, and so I'm going with that. I'm going to stick with keeping as much of this true to the pattern as I can. I'm assuming the letters fall into place. I'm assuming it really matches in real life when you stitch it. So we'll see. But here's, oh, and I'm doing it on a piece of the red gingham linen. I think it's by Weeks, right? Isn't that who makes this stuff? So I worked on it twice so far. And this is where I am. Which I keep waiting for it to look like something. Right? I am doing, let's see if we can do this. I'm doing around his eye. So I've done around his eye. I've left this big cheek part open and the negative space in the eye open. And I'm working down here on the part that is around shapes his nose a little bit and his mustache. So my intent is to work on this for a few days and then it'll get put away and I'll pull out something else that I feel obligated to stitch on so that I don't carry everything into May. A lot of plans videos I've been watching, which are fun. Everybody has their plans. I don't make a ton of plans. I dream every day about stitching something or starting something new. And then I regain my self-control and I don't. Every now and then, this still life one that I just showed you, that is what I was calling an accidental start. It was just one day I needed something different, and apparently what I needed was not one of my current whips, so I just pulled that out and started it. So every now and then there's an accidental start, or there's something irresistible that I see being worked on or that comes out, and so I have to start that. So rules hard and fast. That's one reason why I like Mania, because I dream about starting things all the time and then I don't. Mania sort of lets me go. It's like, I can pick out 10 things at once to start. And there's kitted up things in project bags. So last year I pretty much stuck to what was already in a project bag and just pulled out a kind of a fair distribution of projects. And it's possible that'll happen again this year. I'm not sure what all is in project bags. It's possible there are things that are a little too big to just pull out. So anyway, there's months and months to figure that out. So I should draw your attention to this quilt behind me. I've been sitting in front of this occasionally now for a couple months. There. To get over there closer and see what's happening with that horseshoe. It's kind of hanging. I don't know. It's a button that's added to the quilt. I don't know if I need to tighten it or if it needs some more thread. I don't think I've ever once noticed it. Our treadmill used to be here in front of it, so you kind of stood next to it. So it's possible it got caught. Anyway, I talked about it the first time I sat in front of it and answered questions occasionally here and there online. It's called Little Red Barns, and it's by the Quilt Company. That's who makes the pattern, Little Red Barn. I saw it on eBay when somebody asked about it, and you can still buy the pattern along with the accessory pack. I did this as a block of the month through Shabby Fabrics, And so you don't feel like you're paying that much money when you're getting it as a block of the month and it's coming with fabric and stuff. But these things aren't pieced. Let me see. These are already printed. Um, this one and the cat in the window, and I think the flag and the sign on the barn, and the flag up here. And then there's at least one button on every piece, every block. So those are part of the accessory pack. Obviously, you could do it without the accessory pack. If you just had the pattern, you could do whatever, or fussy cut some fabric, or whatever. You can, if you're a quilter who can assemble this quilt, then you can figure out what to do. So those are the specifics on that. The quilt company, Little Red Barns. What else? It seems like there was more. There is more I'm going to talk about, but just a little bit. I have to tell you about a book. My Flosstube buddies, stitching friends, Flosstube besties, what do you say? Kathleen Stratton Trail, and Nicole of Buckeye Stitcher. First, Kathleen talked about this book. She loves this book. If you like The Christmas Carol, this is a fun read. Jacob T. Marley, it's the Christmas Carol from his point of view and how his life ended up, so that he was all shackled in chains in his after he passed away. So Nicole sent me the book for Christmas, which was it's a great little book. It's cute. It feels nice to hold. Gotta love a real book. And so cute and fun read. Thank you, Nicole. And I was laying down here on the table in preparation for today, and my husband spotted it, and he said, "Oh, what's this?" And I told him, and he thought that looked kind of interesting. But really, you could read it in just a couple sessions of reading. And then 2020, why there's no real plans other than to just keep stitching away. Some people know, and I've alluded to it here and there. We're moving. My husband and I are moving. We're selling the house that we built 15 years ago and finished raising our kids in. And we are moving to a year-round house on one of the Finger Lakes that we live near. And so it's a exciting move. We're moving from one lovely home to another lovely home. So I'm not yet sad about leaving this house. It's a big house. It's a lot of upkeep. House on the lake is a lot of upkeep, and I don't think that house is really a lot smaller. It's down in the city where we spend a lot of time in the summer. We have a seasonal cottage on the lake down there. So that'll be put up for sale after we get ourselves semi-moved into the new house or whatever. Currently, that cottage houses anything that we've cleaned out of this house, trying to declutter in preparation for it to be listed. So it's on the market, it's being shown, and so a lot of my stuff that I'm accustomed to having easy access to is packed away. I made sure I had enough stuff so that I could get through, and I could go on a rampage and go looking for things. It's not like they're not accessible, just not easily. You have to decide how badly you want to find things. So we had one last Christmas in this house with all the kids home. It's kind of one of those bittersweet things because, like I said, it's not like we're not going to an exciting destination location. Pretty much any social life we have exists down in that area. We'll be very close to lots of people we know and socialize with all summer long. So that's a good thing. It's just change, which is fine. I don't have a problem with change. It's further away from, for example, Wegmans in the airport. 2019 was a record year for air travel in my life. I flew, yesterday I thought maybe I would try to total up the number of miles I went. Nah, that was going to take too much time. So then I thought, well, okay, let me see if I can count how many airplanes I was on. No, I couldn't even remember. I can't even remember. Virtually you can't get anywhere from our city, our airport, which is international, so they say, because it flies to Canada. Um, you really can't get anywhere without taking two flights. In the winter, in the peak season, there'll be direct flights down to Florida. I don't really recall that I took any direct flights last year. And we went to Hawaii, which that's three flights just to get there and then back. Um, went to Florida a number of times. I went to my trip to Wisconsin and then on down into Iowa for Midwest, which was an awesome trip. I'm so glad I did what I did to, kind of expand that trip. I went to Cincinnati to StitchCon, which again, I can't get there from here. I'm not driving 12 hours or whatever it takes. It doesn't matter if Google Maps says it's 8 hours. It's not. It is not. I have driven to all manner of parts of my. I grew up. I lived in Ohio. I had family in Ohio. I was born there. My parents, who lived in the whole opposite corner of the state, that takes 5 hours to get there. So, and that's I took a road trip to Ohio other than StitchCon. I forgot about that. That was a bus trip with the quilt group. That was really fun. Really enjoyed that, to do all the quilt shops and whatnot in the Amish country. I went to DC a couple times. I went to. I Yesterday I was counting how many places I went. It was a lot. I drove to the Empire Retreat, which I would do that again. I don't really care to drive myself more than 3 or 4 hours away. Like when my parents were in Ohio and that was like 5 hours, I would do that because, that's been years and years and years of the same route, traveling the same route. Um, uh, so by myself, 3 hours is pretty much about as far as I want to go. Um, Driving just makes me tired. So riding in a car, driving the car just makes me tired. So anyway, I keep telling people I hate to travel, which isn't really the truth. That's not the truth. What it is I don't like to spend that much time getting from point A to point B. If it takes an entire day for me to get somewhere, I mean, Hawaii, yeah, that's going to take you a day. But if it's going to eat up an entire day just to get 2 states away, then I just don't want to spend my time like that. So I'm not saying there's not travel. We have a couple things planned for just in the near future and later into the late spring. We have another trip, um, both related to my husband's work/travel that we sort of turn into a little bit of vacation opportunity. But as far as traveling everywhere and doing everything, that's not happening in 2020. Like I said, big changes. We'll be a long time getting ourselves settled in this new house and getting the kinds of things done that you do when you move into a house, whether it's painting or changing some carpet or just personalizing some things. There's not a dedicated sewing room, so that has to be sort of created. And just stuff like that. Our kids come around a lot in the summer because we're by the water and they like to do the water things. We've always liked water things, um, so that's nice. That's very nice. I don't want to be going away all the time and leaving behind the house where kids are coming around, and because I like to see the kids too. So 2020 will be the year where I stay home more. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I won't be in Florida for the month of February like I have done for the last 5 years. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I just can't see that. I can't see a chunk of time at this point where I can go there and spend any length of time. So the nice thing about going there is that I don't need a lot of pre-planning. I can say I'm going to go, and next week, I'm assuming the airfare isn't outrageous. that I want to go next week because it looks like I have 2 weeks of an empty schedule. I mean, when the house showings, like, I feel like I need to be here and to do the prep work for that. You know, we have pets and there's things that need to be made sure are in how you'd want if somebody was coming to your house. And I know many of you know when you're moving or selling a house, you know, people go through your stuff. Like, I'm not saying like they paw through everything, but you know, they're in your closet and they're looking in the medicine cabinets or whatever, because they're trying to figure out their own life in your house. So you're not hiding things in your closet. You can hide as much as can fit in your car every time you leave, and that's the extent of it. So you get creative. And then we come home and we go like, now where did the TV remote go? And where's the cat, the lid to the cat foods, the cat cans of cat food? And I couldn't find the TV remote the other day because I don't remember which drawer I opened up and dropped it in. So I had to go through all the drawers. And there's just some weird things like that, you know, that you just tuck away. You don't want any clutter anywhere. Oh, that's enough of that. Anyway, I'm off. I have to go grocery shopping while the house is being shown and, you know, that kind of stuff. So I thought I would make a Flosstube and then I could take my iPad with me and maybe, you know, suck up some internet somewhere and get a video uploaded. So have a good Friday. I'm assuming you'll get to see this today if you should by chance see when it first comes out. But anyway, have a good January. I'm sure I'll be back before the month is over. Bye.